can probably get started. Only got 6 games to get through, so I might try and piece apart a couple things a little bit more. They weren't asking for very specific things, just questions about moving on Eliza, who is a relatively slow character, so we'll see. Let's see what sort of shenanigans we got sent in. Did we just not block? Or what's... Yeah, okay. Just got caught. Drop combo, would have blocked the mix. Is that a Hull Bomber? Get opened up. Good blocks, good blocks. Very late push block, that is Hull Bomber. Okay. The Wiki BNB. Okay. Your speed. Nothing. Back chase. Keep hitting the assist. Overextends, get bypassed again. Good blocks. That was a good push block. Blocks. Push block was a little late, but not at a bad time. Brave jab. Get thrown. Falling jump heavy punch. Where did we press that? It's a little scary, but it works. Pressure with Eldart. What were we cooking? Tried to 2 HP? I think. That's an overhead, because fun knowledge check. Try to double jump, yeah. And press button. How do you end up on that side? Cerebella, please. Good anti-air. Little too slow to confirm. You're just catching them pressing. Good anti-air. No confirm afterwards. We mash. Were we mashing? PB'd a little too early. PB'd when we weren't getting hit, got backdash again. Unfortunate. Okay. PBs are probably going to be something I end up talking about a fair bit, because they're very important for defense. But I'll focus a little bit more to how you're moving on the character. Don't need okay. Little okay. This is taking a little longer than I had hoped. But so, jump medium kick here, as you can see, is going to be incredibly slow. And especially because it works the way it does, it's going to be coming out underneath the Valentine. It's a very good spacing button, but you're not at a point in time where you're trying to space. So if you're going to be retreating, one of your best retreating buttons in the air is jump like punch for this character. It's one of her only disjoints. It's reasonably sized, it comes up quick, and it comes up really close to her. It's one of her best walls. Not going to say it's necessarily a phenomenal one, but it is probably one of the better things for you to be choosing in situations like this. Wrong buttons, my bad. Get hit overhead. Up, back. Okay, so... Sorry. Didn't miss the pause button. Here, come down with a falling bind. Throw recovery is very long. Your jump light kick just hits the head. Like, it just comes straight down on top of her head. So... yeah. It's your turn after that. You don't need to be afraid. When you notice someone with a air throw, it's your turn after. Or not air throw, ground throw, sorry. And when you're in the air and you notice someone with an air throw, there's should be thinking just press. So here, Fireball or BFF give you a conversion in the corner. BFF will give you conversion anywhere. Fireball, you need to specifically be in the corner, and then your easiest pickup is standing medium kick into launcher, and then you get your whole route after that without OTG. Keep in mind it spends your OTG. Got countered. I hit both of them. That burst lasts for a long time. Got baited. Oh, no confirm, unfortunate. Oh. A little bit of spaghetti. If you're going to shoot a gun here, I'd recommend H. Luger. H. Luger is the anti-air Luger, quote unquote. If it trades in your favor, which is really nice, but sometimes it misses and sometimes you get stuck before it happens. So shooting a gun here is just kind of scary. I might honestly recommend doing 2 HP here. Or you can just up back, try and chicken block. Usual just block defensive options. Oh, you can convert off of that with a C-slide. So, back, light kick, heavy kick. It's a weird special input, but to confirm, that will be pretty important to get used to. Off of 2 heavy punch. And again, that starter also loses you OPG. You can go into Puddle to make it a pretty guaranteed combo, or there are other ways to pick up after the Clyde. But I believe the Wiki would probably be a better resource for that than I would for those sorts of routes. Good block. Got hit with the layer 2. Stuck in the corner. Good block. Punish. So, one thing I want to mention, for situations like this, I would highly recommend, granted, for your starting Eliza route, you use a really slow heavy. So, you could do this with a medium as well. If you block something as punishable as, say, that super, I can't remember the name for the life of me right now, or SSJ, something akin to that, even if you don't have a heavy counter hit route using all of the undizzy it provides, I will highly encourage you to think about starting your combo with a medium or a heavy. If you're going to start with a heavy, I'd recommend Eliza Stand Heavy Punch, although you need to know different routes to use that as your starter compared to the one I see you're doing currently. Other than that, you can just do Crouch Medium Punch. I'd recommend that over Crouch Medium Kick into your launcher and go there. The reason I recommend that is you get someone, I literally went over this like 2 weeks ago and I can't remember. It's either 1.5 or 2 times damage on the first hit. And so if you do 1.5 damage on like a 100 damage light, it's nothing compared to a 300, 400 damage medium or like close to 1,000 damage heavy. Yeah, 1.5 damage. So it's also a really good habit to get into of just thinking about, oh, I've blocked this, I will go into this starter. It starts really helping being aware of that, because then when you do try and add in counter hit routes to your repertoire, once you feel comfortable getting there, you'll already kind of have it in the back of your mind. Oh, this is something I know I can counter hit. I will start with this, and just know right off the bat you're going into that route. So just a small thing I encourage you to start thinking about. Stop right button. Up forward into it. Unfortunate. Shoot the gun. Jump in. No combo for double afterwards. Got tagged by the raw tag, unfortunate. The dart didn't quite cover what you wanted to. Good fast roll. Did we just want a DHC last time and got our super 8? This makes sense. Was that a blue bounce? No, okay. I'm blind. Dart. Not quite a confirm. Dart seals the deal. Oh. If you notice this, you can use your double jump to go back in, because that's also a pretty high recovery move that you can punish. Most raw tags are. Dash up low, get meshed on. Doing a little spacing, running away, doing a lot of running away, doing a lot of jumping. Notice that for all of your characters. That incoming loses, really? I would not have expected that. I like the idea. I really didn't expect that to lose, and I don't think you did either. It happens. Just a small tidbit here. I'm just gonna mention it once because it's a nice thing to know for this route. Whenever you do this with Burden Shards Horus afterwards, you can dash completely to the other side and get a side swap. If you like being in the corner, which Eliza tends to do, but I don't know if you have any preference either way. It just helps you keep the corner. Oh, steal the corner if you're getting the hit out of the corner. A thing to think about. Oh, yep, okay. Autopiloted into the route a little bit. Definitely need to get a little more familiar with characters, but that's how the game goes. Again, another situation where side swapping would make it easier to get the corner, but... Oh, yep. Press the 2-leg kick a little too early, I feel that. Been there, done that so many times. Good blocks. Push block to stay in. Not quite a punish. Yeah. I think we're having a small issue pressing 2-leg kick a little, or 5 LK, a little too early in that combo. That makes sense. Oh, so here, Fukuoka has one quote-unquote safe DHC option. The Drill Super, the one you just chose to do, is incredibly unsafe. BFF is pretty unsafe on block. If you do Fireball, people have to know how to deal with it, otherwise it is safe. And if they don't, it is only unsafe if you do it point blank. And so if you do Fireball here, you're more than likely going to be fine. The one situation where they can punish is if they're close enough to do a PBGC and then have a button in range that comes out fast enough to catch you. So just food for thought if you're gonna be trying to salvage situations with DHGs. Fireball is the much better option. Really press. Mashing light punch right now. That's the wrong button, I'm sorry. Patience, good luck, good punish. Got 2 more games. Okay, I'll try and look at different things that I have. And DP round start makes sense. DP plus assist is usually pretty hard to punish. Yeah, the one really unfortunate thing with that route is that it does not do nicely for Happy Birthday sometimes. Good kill. That's just weird. Didn't quite layer pressure properly with the assist, but don't think you expected her to not get hit by it. We were pressing here. Stand medium kick and 2 medium kick would both not have been great options there, so either or. Unless you wanted Horus, I might have missed that input. Horus I think still loses there because it doesn't come out fast enough. Gotta be a little bit faster if you want to do jump heavy kick into stand heavy punch. We are mashing Fukuoka jump light punch while we're getting hit. It's not... I'm not going to tell you it's a bad option. I just want you to use it differently. It's something you notice through going for the reset and time to mess with loose mix. If you keep just pressing it, you will likely get caught by random, much tighter mix or get burst baited. So it is a good reversal tool, it's just not a reversal in the way you're trying to use it. I'd also encourage, so if you have a little more time, jump medium kick hits better below her, so that's another option to consider pressing on the way down as well. Caught again by the raw bypass. something you kind of gotta get used to watching out for, especially versus particular Val players. Not with the overhead. That would have been I'll not make you remember. Here is a really good time to be pressing stand medium punch. This is like bread and butter. You're in the perfect spot for me to just throw my massive anti-air into the sky and try and catch you pressing a button landing on me, which Valentine's will oftentimes do. So, another thing to just plant the seed, let you mess around with it. Very good blocks, though. Another situation where you could consider going for medium or heavy counter hit, but no big deal. We're in. We're doing our route. Unfortunate drop. Get another punish. Very consistent with the combo as we have it, though. Only really dropping at one specific spot. And I fully trust you to iron that out as well. It's just a little more time. Is this the... do we know any routes for double, or is this just all we know? We didn't save OTG with that DHC, unfortunately, so that will no longer work. That's why BFF will be the consistent DHC for that. Retreat, throw fireballs, do a little bit of zoning, protecting our assist. So, advancing and throwing a fireball is kind of scary because you're in a counter hit state for a while before it comes out. This is like the perfect spot to be pressing boy. Jump light punch. Jump light punch, jump light kick. They're both pretty good options as air to airs. Whereas this is a little scary. Ends up working out in your favor, but you can get burned for choosing options like that. Unfortunate. She didn't quite leave. Give it another reset life. Catch the backdash. Projectiles are something you want to be doing from a distance, with Fukua specifically, because if she's close doing it, there's so much startup before the projectile actually comes out, and they don't trade nicely in your favor. B. So... a couple things... I mentioned the heavy counter hit stuff. That's a very minor point. That it's just something to start thinking about. Push blocking, I want you to think about doing it more and also think about when you're actually wanting to push block. Because sometimes you're holding 3 or 4 hits before you go, oh, I can get them off of me. Which is understandable, it's especially if you're not coming from any games that have mechanics like it. But it's a very good habit to get into because push block push block is a very important defensive tool throughout the entire part of the game. As you're beginning, like just learning how to push block or just learning to push block is a really important habit to get into. And then once you have the habit, the next layer of offense starts dealing with the way you've been doing it. And so then you need to adapt and change. And so you're just constantly adding on to how you're push blocking. So I'd recommend start working on it more. And then once you run into further problems, you can start working on push block guard cancel, which is a really important mechanic in this, absolute guard as well. And there are all these further advanced concepts that are all tied to knowing when and how to push block. So definitely be thinking about using that more because you're holding a lot, and your defense is looking pretty good so far, but you don't have to hold as much as you are. You're making it a little harder on yourself. You can just say, I've blocked 2 or 3 hits. Sometimes if you're really feeling it, you can push block the first hit, and you just go, you're off of me. We're playing neutral again. You cannot stick on me. And it'll help. It'll help relieve a lot of pressure. That was one of the main things I saw on defense. Combos definitely look like your Eliza was the most comfortable, and you're learning the game. I'm not going to tell you sit in a training lab for 20 hours a day until you can do that before you hop on QM. Hop in training lab if you're feeling it, if you want to work on your combos a little bit. Getting them more consistent never hurts. Just make sure you're enjoying playing the game, and honestly, as long as you're doing that, you'll find either time in lab or time in game to just practice combos and getting hits and going, okay, I figured out what I'm doing wrong, I'm getting this more consistent. I would also encourage you to think about starting to consider, at least for Eliza, adding in specific mix, so going on the wiki or going into main court and going like, hey guys, what's a pretty good, well, I mean, for the wiki you could just go to the page, but like look up a pretty good like entry point for the next thing, even if it's just getting used to doing, instead of finishing a combo, a single hit of stand light punch and then going low, letting it uncombo, go into crouch light kick or throw right after. That's called a tick throw or tick low, and that's a perfectly fine mix to get you started. You can find more specific setups that look a little bit harder to block, yada yada yada. Start thinking about that, and then can also start thinking about watching the Undizzy bar, because I noticed you go into the same combo and like just and having it down consistently is very good. And then just the next step is recognizing I don't have enough Undizzy to do the full thing, so I will do bits and pieces of it until I know I don't have Undizzy left, and then I'll do the Ender String. And just having the forethought to jump straight to the Ender String, which will end up being more damage than any combo in the middle. Just another small thing to start thinking about looking at. And those are kind of just the main things, because you're just playing the game, you're learning, and you're at a point where honestly some of the best advice I can give you, outside of like, I pointed out a couple of the main things, namely the push block, that I thought would help make life easier for you. Other than that, I think you're at a point in the game where it's a lot of just, I enjoy playing the game, I'm gonna keep playing the game, and putting more time into the game will get you more comfortable with everything you're doing. And so those are a lot of the main things to think about in that regard. I know you asked specifically about Eliza movement, so I'll also talk a little bit about Kua as well, because you've thrown her on your team, but I won't focus on it, so it doesn't matter. I'll just use yours. Random, doesn't really matter. So Eliza overall is a pretty large and somewhat sluggish character, although her air dash can start covering a good amount of distance. Her back dash is also, her back air dash is pretty good, or pretty meh. It does what it needs to do. But so you have walk, usual walk, just usual sprint walk, and it's a pretty long backdash, but it's also slow, so it's liable to get tagged. One other movement option you have is this, which is, it's going to be a little faster. It's also projectile armored. And so it's really unsafe though, so you're usually wanting to use it to cover a little bit of screen, usually to get through a projectile, and then you're canceling it into DP, you're canceling it into Horus, like all of your summons, more or less, as well as DP. And then if you want to be really cheeky, you can do random stuff like this, if you think they're going to try and contest you doing any other thing. But that's kind of it for like the basics of her movement. The things you can be doing with it is she really likes to be kind of at this distance, so that will hit, because she steps forward, that also hits. These are all really slow and somewhat punishable options, this being the hardest to punish by far. And so you don't necessarily need to worry about being a quick character to move yourself in. You can hover in this space, either on the ground or in the air, and just kind of respond to what they're doing. But Rennie was Rennie was noticing, as well as I was, they were talking in chat, that you don't tend to air dash all that much in neutral, which is honestly a relatively fine habit, but you were kind of just limiting yourself to a single jump. And so some things Eliza's will do, especially for like when I was talking about jump medium kick being a spacing button, you have that, and it just covers a lot of space. Granted, it's not actually a disjoint, so you need to be careful about throwing it out willy-nilly. Same thing with this, although it doesn't hit quite as far. All of these control similar space. These are just her medium punch and medium kick respectively. They're pretty reasonable tools to be more so taking space aggressively, because they're not disjointed. Again, retreating with them can get you tagged, although this, especially with how quickly you land, is hard to do. One of the things I mentioned earlier is her jump light punch. If you're trying to retreat quickly, this is a pretty big wall. Let's turn on... Alright, I'm not in replays. And then slow down the game. It's a relatively big wall. People can get underneath it, but it's not a bad option to just retreat, say, no, get away from me. This is mostly you're going to be using for falling on people or being close. And so you have a plethora of options, as well as just trying to stay a bit more spaced. Catching people you know are approaching with DP, please. I'm on keyboard right now, so my headphones are... I should just plug in my controller. I'm probably going to play a little bit of QM, but... You have a lot of options to just low poke, so you can stay on the ground, try and be a little bit more spacey, do this. If you want faster movement, you are going to have to commit to an air dash, which will be faster, but not as disjointed, especially as this button, or that button, or that. And so you have kind of all these very longish mid-range options that can do stuff. And then once you're close, your jab, be careful. It can be crouched under by a lot of characters. That's not an awful option, so like that. When I was talking about tick throws, or I can just give you an example here. Is my controller plugged in? Yeah. So it's... If you just want to do this route... So you can do it off of that. You can do it off of LDP. You can do it off of this, where you just go low, high, throw. That's a reset point. It's really late in your combo, so it's not necessarily the best, but some things to start with. Other than that, yeah. One of the things that makes this character incredibly sticky is doing just things like that. Once you're in close enough, it's really hard to keep push blocking her out once she gets on you and forces you to follow something. So that's kind of how this character moves and gets in. And yeah, I dropped that combo too. Don't worry about it. It's a little finicky sometimes. But I think that's about everything I'd want to cover. Is there any other really important things for her move? No? Okay. And then for Fuqua, it's similar. She has a double jump instead of an air dash. And so, like, the main things I noticed, like, she's very similar slow walking, but has some, namely this is a really good spacing option. And then you can do stuff like that if you're really good. It takes getting used to with fast fingers. This is not a bad low poke. That's also not a bad low poke. This is just a really good button to reach people with. And my point about fireballs being relatively slow, it's usually recommended to throw them out in the air, especially after a neutral hop or a back jump, because doing it forward, you're putting yourself at pretty high risk. And so if you want to step up your Fuqua zoning a little bit more, one thing I didn't see as much is you can go, yeah, you land, and so you do this in the air, you wait to land, you put a shadow out, and the shadow gives enough time for your fireball to come in for your next stop back. And so that's kind of how you do it. Usually you'll do L shadow because it's the slowest, but if you think they're just defaulting to down back, you can catch them with that. And sometimes it works and you get in. Just a couple more things to be thinking about. But overall, keep playing the game. Keep enjoying it. I think you'll be just more time in and you'll get there. It's kind of how learning this game works. And again, the best way to learn the game is to enjoy it. So, yeah, make sure you enjoy the game. If you have any further questions, or if you don't think I covered something you wanted, please just ping me. I will gladly address it. And if it's timestamp specific, shoot it with a timestamp. It just makes it easier for me to understand what you're asking. But yeah, I think that's about it for the evening.